Hey guys, it's Leo Stargazer. I'm here today with our astrological guide to the week. This is for the week of December 3rd through December 9th, 2023, and it's almost all about Venus. Venus moves into Scorpio this week and takes us on a journey and begins a transit of deep, intense pleasure, love, and even romance. This could be really, really deep and too intense for us. There's definitely that chance. So we need to look to a couple of the other astrological events that are happening this week. There's a waning moon, Mercury makes a trine to Jupiter, and Venus also itself makes a trine to Saturn. And we need to let all of those things help us release, recuperate, and recover. We also need to share these journeys, and we need to be clear and concise in that communication. How we are able to push our boundaries while still maintaining them is the key of the week. It's definitely the major lesson we will come up against this week. This is especially true in regard to your relationship with your deepest sense of beauty and love. If we dive as deeply as we can this week and trust ourselves and what we learn from these extremes about our own limits and vulnerabilities, if we do that, we can create sustainable, long-lasting bonds with ourselves and others. We also deserve romance, intense romance. That's possible as well. So let's learn this week, through all of this astrology, how to safely and pleasurably achieve these bonds. So after that, with all of that in mind, with that little synopsis done, let's look at the astrology in a little bit more detail. So like I said, the main focus of the week is that Venus moves from Libra into Scorpio. This transit is deep love, intense emotion. There's this sense of the, more intense, deeper, darker potentially side of our pursuit of love and romance and pleasure and beauty and all of these things, all of these Venusian elements. We really want to latch on to what we learned while Venus was in Libra about how to keep ourselves in balance, because we really deserve to and need to go on these really deep dives that are promised around those archetypes once Venus moves into Scorpio on Monday. I'm super excited about this type of passion because I really think we learned a lot from Venus in Libra, and I feel like we are ready to dive really deep into these kind of romantic, pleasurable zones. There's a real sense of intensity here, and I love that. So before Venus moves into Scorpio, it does make a square to Pluto, so there is this, again, more insistence on this deep dive. And then once Venus moves into Scorpio, we begin that journey. Well, right as Venus moves into Scorpio, Venus makes a trine to Saturn in Pisces. This trine instantly allows us to make some boundaries, to set up some boundaries for the rest of this transit. So it's super, super essential. The more boundaries we can set up for Venus and us to go through these deep love spaces, the better. Venus's trine to Saturn will really help clarify. Venus will be in a water sign, Saturn is in a water sign, so there's this idea too that there's this fluidity between the two, and then this beautiful trine helps us to really set flexible but really functional boundaries so that we can dive as deeply as we want to and push ourselves to as many extremes and as far as those extremes can take us. So I'm excited about that, and I think this trine to Saturn is really important. The other thing I think is really important to focus on this week, and again, I'm kind of coming back to this idea that all of this is to help us balance and boundary ourselves so that we can go really far in our love journeys with Venus. Well, the other thing I'm focusing on is that the moon, we have a last quarter moon and then a waning crescent moon, meaning that the moon is beginning to wane on the way to a new moon in Sagittarius next week. The reason the waning moon is so important to me is that its focus on releasing, on relaxing, on recuperation is going to really help us find this balance that is going to be so important for Venus's transit through Scorpio, at least for us to make the most of it. Another thing that's going to help us with that is that Mercury will make a trine to, Mercury's in Capricorn, will make a trine to Jupiter in Taurus. So again, Mercury's trine from Capricorn to Jupiter in Taurus is super important and helps with this balance because there's this sense that the expansive smartness of this trine will add further clarity and kind of help us to communicate a little bit about our journey. And I think the communication element is also key. It may be hard because we're dealing with some pretty intimate, intense stuff. So it may be really hard to communicate what we need to, but this trine gives us a lot of strength and a lot of space and a lot of stability to be able to do that. So I think when Mercury makes that trine to Jupiter on Thursday, we are going to be able to have already been on this journey with Venus. So we'll have the trine to Saturn, we'll understand about boundaries, we'll already be with Venus in Scorpio, so there'll be really intense stuff we're dealing with romantically, emotionally, in terms of our pleasure, all those kinds of things. Well, once Mercury makes that trine on Thursday to Jupiter, we'll be able to have a decent enough knowledge about where we stand in this process, the beginning of Venus's transit through Scorpio. We'll have a good enough idea and we'll be rested and recuperated enough in honor of this waning moon. We'll have learned all this stuff and we'll be in the place that we are so that by the time Mercury makes that trine to Jupiter, we can have this expansive, communicative, intelligent conversation about where we are in the process. Even if we just kind of write this down, I think that's really important. I also think in honor of the waning moon and Mercury's trine to Jupiter at this point, all surrounding this Venus transit through Scorpio, I think that setting an intention for the new moon next week in Sagittarius, big, open, optimistic Sagittarius, I think all of this can help us make a really, really consequential and important intention. And I think that's going to be super crucial. It's going to be crucial for Venus's transit through Scorpio. It's also going to be crucial for Mercury's transit through Capricorn, where Mercury will station retrograde next week as well. So we will go through this Mercury trine Jupiter moment again on Mercury's way back. And that's why I think focusing on it this week is going to be really important, especially focusing on it with Venus in mind. So Venus moves from Libra to Scorpio. We have a waning moon all week. Venus, once it enters Scorpio, will make a trine to Saturn in Pisces, and Mercury in Capricorn makes a trine with Jupiter in Taurus. So all of this is happening this week. I'm really interested in how this love journey, as I'm calling it, Venus's transit through Scorpio, how this journey will impact you. Maybe romance isn't in the cards for everyone. Maybe we're single and loving it. Maybe we're in a really beautiful, deep, romantic relationship that just needs some deeper dives and some more intensity. Well, intensity is coming for us regardless. And that intensity is going to directly impact how we interact with love, pleasure, beauty, romance, and all of those beautiful Venusian archetypes. The trine to Saturn is crucial, guys. That trine happens on Tuesday. Venus moves into Scorpio on Monday. So right away, you're going to get some super important information about boundaries. By Thursday, by the time Mercury makes that trine to Jupiter, remember to, in one way or another, communicate what you are learning, where you are on this journey. It's going to be crucial for setting boundaries and for understanding how we can safely push our extremes around those Venusian archetypes. So to reel it all back in, Venus's entrance into Scorpio starts with a beautiful boundaried trine. Mercury later on in the week and Jupiter encourages us to communicate that journey. We are focusing and synthesizing all of this around this waning moon so that we can create a beautiful, essential, consequential new moon intention for next week's new moon in Sagittarius. That, by the way, happens on the same day that Mercury stations retrograde. So, to clarify and simplify, we are focused this week on Venus moving into Scorpio, this waning moon, and Mercury's trine to Jupiter. Venus's transit through Scorpio promises to give us some beautiful, intense, deep insight into how we approach pleasure. Some of those darker, deeper, more hidden spaces could be revealed during this transit. And if we use the waning moon and Mercury to remind ourselves to set really important, beautiful intentions. Intentions to clarify and ignite Venus's passionate journey through Scorpio. Intentions to stay balanced during that and to communicate clearly where we are on our journey and how that's affecting us. By the time we get to that new moon, on the same day Mercury stations retrograde, we can begin this new cycle on more stable, passionate, hopefully pleasurable ground. And that's going to be key, very crucial for us. I really hope we do. Let's start our love journeys this week. Let's do it together. And let's learn what we need to learn to set consequential intentions. We'll need them. I'll see you next week.